Hello and welcome back. This is Module 2. We're going to be talking about basic operations of Excel. In our last module, Module 1, we talked about the Excel environment. We did an introduction to the Excel workbook. We talked about saving a file, opening a data set. We talked a lot about the toolbar and functionality that you can use within Excel, preparing to print, headers and footers, printing a file, and how to select multiple cells for printing. In this basic module for the operations of Excel, we're going to talk about editing a cell, selecting a range, selecting all the cells in the worksheet, copying and pasting, continuing a series by dragging cells, sorting and filtering, removing duplicates, and then the undo command and shortcut. So let's jump right in with editing a cell. Several ways to edit a cell in Excel. The first is to, let's say we want to edit the gender of this first employee. Currently female. Let's say that we accidentally put that in wrong and this person is actually a male. If we want to edit this information, really all we need to do is highlight the cell. So I put my cursor on cell B2 and I can just simply, one option is to simply type over it. So I can type in male and hit enter, and it goes to the next cell. Another option, let's go back to this cell, and I'm going to undo that. So again, the undo command and shortcut, you can either come up here to this back arrow and click that, and it goes back to female. Let's say I typed that again in male, and I wanted to undo. The trick or the shortcut is Control Z, just like any other Microsoft Office program. Control Z is always the undo command there. So we're back to the original data set. Employee ID number 1 is a female. Another way that we can edit this cell is if we go up to the formula bar up here and we can select here. So all I did was bring my cursor up here and click, and you can see that the cursor is now at the end of the word female. I can either backspace all the way, or if I was at the end here, I can highlight the whole thing and hit backspace, and we can just type in here male and enter. Again, let's undo that. So I'm going to Control Z and undo that. The final and third way that you can edit the cell is if you double click. So my plus sign here is within the cell. If I double click, it comes up to the end there of female. I can highlight that and just type in male over it there. So that's how you edit a cell in Excel. I'm going to Control Z, so we're back to our original data set. In terms of selecting a range of cells, very simple. All you need to do is click with your mouse, the left mouse key, and drag your cursor to wherever you want it to be. So that's how we select cells, and we can do things like formatting. So let's say we wanted to select this group of cells and we wanted to color them yellow. We click on the home button here and we click on this bucket of paint, fill color, and we click on yellow. I'm going to undo that, Control Z. If we wanted to do it a different color, for example, blue, we can highlight the various colors. You can see it changing behind the menu here, and we just click on, for example, a lighter green. Again, Control Z to undo that. So that's how you highlight multiple cells in Excel, or a range of cells in Excel as well. You can also do this with your keyboard. So if you hold Shift and the arrow key, so I'm going to hold Shift and I'm going to push the right arrow keys, that highlights one cell at a time and keeps them all highlighted. Now I'm going to hold Shift and down, and we can highlight cells that way as well. So if you don't have a mouse, or if you are on your trackpad or whatever on your laptop, you can highlight those as well. Control Shift highlights all the way to the end of that row of data. So if I hit on my keyboard, Control Shift and the right arrow, it's going to go all the way to the far right. And if I hit Control Shift and down arrow now, it's going to take us all the way down to the end of our data set. Oftentimes we use that when we're highlighting the entire data set to do some formatting change, or like centering the text or something like that. So that's how you select a range of cells in Microsoft Excel. If you want to select all of your cells in a worksheet, so let's say that you want to format every single cell in this worksheet is really easy. All you need to do is come up to this intersection here between the rows and columns, so at this very top left corner of the Excel sheet, and you click on that with your left mouse button and you can see the entire worksheet is highlighted. So again, you might want to do that if you are doing some sort of formatting change to a worksheet or something like that, but typically not used very frequently. If you want to highlight a whole row of data, so let's say we want to highlight the entire row 3, employee number ID 3, which is row 4, simply move your cursor over to the left-hand side where you can see the black arrow and click on it, left click, and you highlight the entire row. Same with columns. You go up to the top till you get the black arrow down and click there and you highlight the entire row. So simple ways to do formatting there. One way that we'll talk about cell formatting in Module 3, so we'll be using this functionality again. Copying and pasting information in Excel, very easy. We touched on this in the first module, but let's say we want to copy and paste this row of data or these 2 cells of data, tenure and most recent performance rating. Or let's say, for example, we want to create another table and we want to use these same column headings. That's probably a better example, more realistic example. What we're going to do is we're going to go up to the top and we're going to say copy, and it's going to highlight in the dotted line all around those cells that we're going to copy. And let's say we want to put that in sheet 2. We're going to click on sheet 2 and we want to put that in A1 and we're going to say paste. And we have several paste options. What we can do is we can paste it just as is. We can paste the formulas, which there are no formulas in these particular cells, so that doesn't really apply. We can paste the values, which simply pastes the values without formatting. Paste the values in number formatting. In this case, we don't have any numbers, so that doesn't apply. Or we can do the values in source formatting. So typically that's something that you want to do if you want to keep things consistent across. So what I'm going to do is paste values here with source formatting, and there we can see that we have the same table. Now, you'll notice that these are a little bit more spread out, so each of the columns are a different length. In order to do that, all we need to do is select the entire column up here and drag. So we're going to click on A and drag all the way to the right, and we're going to adjust these as we see necessary. So you'll notice that they all move at the same time and they all adjust to the same width. So when you have your columns highlighted, they all adjust to the same width if you adjust the width of one. So it doesn't matter if I adjust column H all the way to here, you're going to see all of them expand. And if I say, whoops, that was too much, all I need to do is select any of the other columns. So column C, for example, and it'll bring everything back. Right? So that's how you copy and paste information. Easy keys for copying and pasting or shortcuts. If I hit escape, so it gets out of the dotted line. Let's say that in sheet 2, right, we have these same column headers that we showed earlier. Let's say I want to copy these first 5 employees. So I'm going to click and drag the first 5 employees. I'm going to say Control C for copy. And again, it's going to have our same squiggly lines. Then I'm going to go to sheet 2 and I'm going to go to row A2 and I'm going to go Control V for paste. And you'll see that it pastes everything in just as is. We come over here and paste values and source formatting, and that's the same formatting. So that's how to copy and paste a cell and information. So one cell, multiple cells, all the same commands within Excel. So the next thing we're going to cover right now is continuing a series by dragging cells. And this is really quite a fascinating functionality that Excel has. It kind of predicts what you want to do or what it thinks you want to do and starts to do it for you. So for example, when I was creating this data set and I needed to have a series of employee numbers, I did not have to copy or I did not have to type in employee ID numbers 1 through 500. So that would be quite tedious, monotonous, and quite boring. If I had to stay here and go 1, enter 2, enter 3, enter 4, enter 5, 6, 7, etc., all the way down to 500, that would take forever. So one thing that Excel does for us is that it kind of predicts the pattern that you have in your data, and it can copy it for you, and it can replicate it as you go down your sheet or across your sheet. So what I did when I was creating this data set is, let's keep with ID numbers. What I did was say I typed in 1, 2, And now what I'm going to do is using, as I described earlier, how to highlight cells. I'm going to highlight those two cells. And what Excel is going to do, if I click on this black plus arrow, so see the green square there, I'm going to hover over that with my mouse until I get the black plus arrow. And I'm going to drag that down. And you'll see on the right hand side, it starts to count up for me. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, etc. Now I don't have to copy all those down. All I need to do is drag that all the way down to the number that I want, which in this case is 500. So let's say 500. And there we go. Now we have a list of numbers from 1 to 500. Now let's say, again, I'm going to undo that. So Control Z. I'm going to undo that. Let's say we enter a 3 here. Excel will still pick up that same pattern, and it will replicate that pattern for us. So this makes things very easy. I'm going to delete those. This makes things very easy in order to replicate things that you may want to do within Excel. Same kind of thing. So let's say, again, I'm going to do 1, 2, and I'm going to copy those down just for about 10 employees here. Let's say for gender, I want to copy down gender. So let's say this first person's a male, second is a female, and let's say that I know employees 2 through 5 are females. All I need to do is copy down that female, and it replicates that for me. If I highlight female and male up at the top, again, let me go back and show you what I did there. So the first one is a male, the second one is a female. If I hover over this and drag this down, it's going to alternate because that's the pattern that I had in the beginning. So you'll see male, female, male, female, male, female, etc., all the way down, right? And so we can do this with all sorts of things, especially if you're copying and pasting formulas. This is very, very helpful in order to do that, and we'll cover some basic formulas in a different module, and we'll use this same functionality. But very easy to do, very easy to fill cells and replicate your information that you need to do if you are creating a data set or modifying a data set, things like that. So again, that's how you continue your series, by dragging cells.